Hey guys, good morning. I have some really cool stuff to share with you today. It's been a long time since I've been really excited to sit down and film a morning chat, but yeah, it's just one of those days today. So last week I talked to you guys about how I signed up for the 21 Days program. Created by Jess from Stark Skincare, and I finished that program last week. The program is 3 weeks long, so I think maybe 2.5 weeks in, as I was completing the exercise and journaling and stuff, I realized that what I was reflecting on was really digging up some stuff for me, like emotionally, that I hadn't dealt with. And I reached out to Jess and I actually asked her if she offers counseling because I wanted to talk to her about what I was going through and in regards to her program. But yeah, she recommended this other resource to me, and she told me to check out the Life Coach School. Oh my gosh. Okay, so the website is thelifecoachschool.com. I'll have it linked below because I hope I'm not wrong. But anyway, the woman, the host or the life coach behind that program, her name is Brooke Castillo, and Jess recommended her podcast to me. So I started listening to her podcast, which is all free, by the way. So I started listening to her podcast, and then I also checked out the website. And although the podcasts are free, Brooke Castillo offers a life coaching program that you have to pay for on a monthly basis. It's about $300 a month. And, you know, I didn't sign up for it right away or anything, but I did listen to several of her podcast episodes, and oh my gosh, guys, she's really good. She's really good. She knows what she's talking about, and she's so good at teaching and instructing in a way that's not judgmental at all, and it's just so relatable. And I feel like the way that she approaches it and the topics that she covers, it's stuff that most of us, if not all of us, go through. So I highly recommend her podcast to you. And let's see, just off the top of my head, I think some of my favorites were the episode on boundaries, and then there's one where she talked about negativity, and then she had one called How to Feel Better, and there are about like 160 something or like 170 episodes out. There's so many. So what I would suggest is for you guys to go to her podcast. Looks like that, and then when you hit feed, you can scroll through all of her episodes and then just kind of listen to whichever topic like resonates with you. Episode number 2, that one is called How to Feel Better. Excellent one. This was from 3 years ago, so this is from April 28th, 2014, but she recently shared a webinar where she talked about the concepts that she went through in this program. That was an excellent episode. And then what else did I really enjoy? She has a podcast on how to have difficult conversations, which I feel like is necessary for everyone. Brandon and I listened to the How to Be a Good Mate one together. I know Jess really liked that one. Jess recommended that one to me. And I just finished listening to the procrastination episode, because that's something that I totally relate with. She talks about perfectionism and why perfectionists tend to, you know, push things off and really make it a lot more stressful and scary than it needs to be. So I guess, yeah, so I was listening to these podcasts. I really liked her content and the way that she was delivering it. And then I think it was on Friday. It was Friday because it was June 1st, and I remember because I signed up for Brooke Castillo's newsletters, and then I gotten emails like earlier last week, and she was saying that she is closing down her monthly coaching program because I think there are like already thousands of people that are within the program, and she wants to take a few months to really focus on the people within the program. So she's not accepting new members after May 31st. Now, when I got this newsletter, I just thought it was interesting that she had so many signups that she's actually closing the program down, but that was as far as I thought about it. But then for whatever reason on Friday, I was walking home from something. I was walking home and I was just struck with this thought that I wanted to sign up for her program. And so I immediately called Brandon and I was like, hey, you know, is it okay if I invest in this? You know, I can cancel anytime. The payment does go out monthly, and like I said, it's about $300 a month, and I can cancel anytime, but Brooke recommends coaching for at least a year. So of course Brandon was a little bit more curious about why I want to do this or what the program is going to cover. And so like I wasn't even 100% sure at that time, but it was just one of those like really, it was a conviction that I had. And whenever I have these kind of deeply intuitive, I guess, feelings or whatever, I tend to go with it. So yeah, like I mean, there were a lot of other instances where something like this happened where I couldn't fully explain why I felt so strongly about it. But I think because there have been many instances, Brandon was just like, okay, just I trust you, go for it. So I signed up and I just made the cut because it was June 1st here in Korea, which means it's May 31st in the States. So like I made it into the program like right before it's closed off. And now if you go to her website, I think it says that you have to be on a wait list if you're interested. So I'm not here to sell this program or tell you guys to sign up or anything. In fact, I just would really recommend her podcast to you, but I just wanted to share my experience with what it's been like, because today's Monday, so I have been studying her material aside from her podcasts from Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so 3.5 days now, because I did some of her work this morning. Oh my gosh guys, this weekend was kind of changed my life a little bit, and I know that sounds dramatic, so let me like try to unpack it for you without, you know, just flying off the rails here. But this month, and so this program, like every month there is a big overarching theme that she covers. The whole premise of the whole life coaching program is learning how to manage your emotions. So learning how to manage negative emotions, because a lot of the way that we operate and the thoughts that and the feelings that we have all come from the thoughts that we choose to believe in our heads. So she talks about how even in like any given situation, no matter how terrible the circumstances are, you always have the choice to change your thoughts into a positive one. Not just like, not to lie to yourself, but there's always some kind of positivity that you can really focus on, and that will translate into the emotions that you end up feeling. So to give you an example, she was talking about, I think it was in one of her podcasts, she was on a call with one of her clients. So Brooke was talking to her client, and her client, I don't know, we'll call her Jenn, okay? So she was talking to Jenn, and I don't know what kind of work Jenn does, but it requires her to visit homes of her clients. And so she made a phone call to schedule an appointment to go visit one of her clients, and the woman that she ended up talking to basically said to Jenn, she said, are you a black woman? Because if you are, like, I don't want a black person coming to my house. And so immediately, I mean, there's so many things already wrong with that, right? You can like just get pissed off, and rightfully so, because this woman is being racist and she's being rude, she's all of those things, right? So I think it's easy to justify like the hatred that you might feel after hearing something like that. So she's explaining the situation to Brooke, and it's like, how am I supposed to, like, what am I supposed to think? Because, you know, I'm so offended. And naturally, it makes so much sense to be upset and offended. But Brooke is basically saying that you can change the thought. So the thought you can change it to in your head is, clearly this woman is misinformed. Like, maybe she was raised in a family, you know, that was racist, so this is all she knows. Or maybe she had like one or a few bad experience with a black person, so now she feels this way. And so, not that you're justifying her behavior, but like for your own like mental health, you can choose to think, okay, this woman is misinformed and I cannot take this comment personally because she has not met me. And if she were to meet me, she'd love black people. So Brooke is teaching her to like think like that. So she has a choice to be like, hey, actually I am black, but I'm gonna come to your house anyway because you're gonna love me. And you do have the power to kind of change how you feel. You can't control the other person, but you can change how you feel. So I hope that kind of paints a clearer picture. I don't know if that was the best example, but I heard that and I thought, you know, there's definitely validity to that. The whole point of this program is learning how to manage your emotions and not to like just dwell in negativity, and that is something that I struggle with. You guys know I've talked about, like, you know, how anxious I get sometimes, or when I receive like really super negative comments that are just straight out rude and not even like constructive criticism. I have a hard time with it. But, you know, in reality, like, I can't control what people think of me or say about me. What I can control is how I react to it, and the state of mind that I allow myself to be in. So the theme of this month is about self-confidence, and Brooke differentiates confidence from self-confidence. So confidence can be like you feeling confident about a particular area in your life. Like, I am confident in pouring a glass of water because I've done it a million times and I know I'm not going to fail. So it's being confident in a skill versus being self-confident, which is just, you know, like a state of being, I guess. Just regardless of what your skills are, like how you view yourself. I wish I had my notes here with me because I do have like a binder with stuff. Like, she provides workbooks and stuff for this program. So she talks about self-confidence being really truly believing that you are capable. Even if you don't know how to do something, you know that you are able to once you learn how to do it. People that lack self-confidence, like, don't even want to try because they're too afraid to fail, or they don't want to try because they just don't know how, so they won't even step out. I'm definitely in that camp. I like to do things that I think that I'm already good at, and I am very, very fearful about trying new things. So this is something that I want to overcome for myself, and also to be able to share with you guys like what that journey looks like for me. So yes, this month's theme is self-confidence, and we have assignments like every week, and also like a monthly assignment. So the weekly assignment right now is every week she gives a different, she uploads a new podcast. And our homework assignment is to listen to the one podcast episode that week, and then there's a workbook that goes with it where you can like journal and reflect on the topic that she talks about. And actually last week's was on self-confidence, so if you are a little bit confused about what I'm sharing right now, maybe that episode will make it crystal clear for you. So I recommend that episode as well. It's number 167, great one. So I listened to that podcast and then I did the work. This week, my other weekly assignment is to make a list, like a long list of all the areas, the skills that I feel confident in, and then I'm just going to reflect on that. And on top of that, she has us do a daily assignment. And for this month, for 30 days, she has challenged us to do one thing a day that scares you. And she has a list of examples that you can choose to pick from, or you can just make one up yourself. But the criteria is you have to do one every day, and it has to be something that scares you. If it doesn't terrify you, then it doesn't count. So the whole point is to dare yourself to do something, and you have to be ready to face any emotion that follows it, whether it's like terror or embarrassment, or, you know, like everything that follows getting rejected. So some of the dares that she suggested was, 1, go up to a stranger and ask to borrow money, which is, just a thought of it makes me cringe. Or like you go to a restaurant with your friends, and then after you finish the meal, you ask the staff like if you could have the entire meal for free, like things like that. Like, at the risk of making like your friends uncomfortable, like, you know, just putting yourself out there and asking for, you know, like putting out an outrageous ask. And even if you hear a no, or even if the person looks at you like you're crazy, the lesson is like you're not going to die. But often it feels like we are, right? So it's self-confidence she keeps defining as being open to handling all the emotions that follow doing something that's uncomfortable. And I think something else that she said is discomfort is the currency of success. So you have to be willing to make yourself uncomfortable to keep growing. It's so funny, as soon as I made the payment for June and I saw the theme, I was like, oh, self-confidence, yeah, that's something I'd love to work on. I think that's something that all of us could work on, right? So I got really excited, and then once I started looking at the lesson overview and what's going to be covered, and I saw the monthly assignment, like I felt sick to my stomach. Like I went to go teach my students, and while I was teaching them, like I found myself getting kind of cranky and irritated because I was thinking about what I would have to do. And there was just so much resistance and fear there, right? And it didn't even happen yet. And it just goes to prove that, you know, your thoughts are everything, because here I am, I haven't even done the dares yet, but I'm feeling all the emotions as if I'd already gotten rejected. And I thought that was interesting because Brooke in one of her podcasts like gives this example. Oh, I think it's the How to Feel Better episode, where, you know, your thoughts are what always cause your feelings, not your circumstance. Yes, a circumstance can feel bad, or, you know, if something bad has happened, but it's your thought associated with it that results in the feelings. So, you know, obviously a death in your family is going to feel very different to you versus like a random person you don't know dying. Like, yes, you might be sad over death, but it's different because of your thought related to these two people. She gives this example of how if someone came up to you and told you that you won the lottery, your feeling or your thought would be you're just so excited because now you're thinking of all the things you could do with this money that you've won. But in reality, you didn't actually win the lottery, right? You're just feeling excited and overjoyed because you're imagining what you could do with the money that you won. It's really feeling your way into like being content. I know I'm like jumping all over the place, but I'm really trying to like, I guess, pave the way to what I'm about to share with you. Okay, so here I am teaching my students. I'm feeling so sick thinking about like the dare that I have to, like a dare I have to do for 30 days. I'm not gonna lie, I was really tempted not to tell Brandon about it because I knew that once I opened my mouth to him, he's going to keep me accountable and he's going to challenge me every day. So I was like, oh no, like I don't want to tell him what I have to do, because now whenever we go somewhere, he's gonna challenge me to get rejected, right, by strangers. So I sat with it, and then after work I came home. We went out to dinner, and right before we went out to dinner, I told him my monthly assignment, and he loved it because a few months ago Brandon read a book called Rejection Proof, which is like the same theory, like going out and putting yourself out there and expecting to get a no from someone, and like every time you do that, your self-confidence grows. So he did it for like 5 days, and some of the crazy things he did was going to a coffee shop, and then he asked one of the baristas if he can go back there and make his own coffee, and that person actually said yes to him, and so Brandon got to go and like pull his own espresso. Another task was to go up to a stranger and ask if you can take a selfie with him or her, I forget. But yeah, that person said no, and Brandon was like, okay, and walked away, and I know like he kind of cringed. What else has he done? He's gone to Jamba Juice and asked if he could buy one of their oranges that was on display, and the worker surprisingly said yes. He came home with an orange. I think he also asked for a stranger for 50 bucks one time, and although he didn't get it, it did open up a conversation about I think why Brandon was asking, and the guy was straight up like, I just don't have 50 bucks to give you. But I don't know, based on their conversation, it almost sounds like he might have, because I think Brandon said, if you lend it to me, I will meet you here, same place, same time tomorrow, and I will give it back to you, like, you know. So anyway, because of like how much he's grown from doing that challenge by himself a few months ago, he was so excited when I told him what I have to do this month. So Friday we get to the restaurant, and right before we get seated, I asked Brandon like, hey, if you had to pick a challenge for me today, like, what would you have me do? A part of me was thinking, okay, if it's like a crazy embarrassing thing, like, I don't have to do it, right? So right before we sit down, he says, okay, your challenge is to go to the table next to us. There were 2 girls having dinner. Go to the table next to us and then ask the girl for a shot of her soju. And soju is like a Korean liquor, alcohol beverage. So yeah, he was like, ask for a shot. And oh, guys, I was sick to my stomach the whole dinner. And he just kept trying to talk me through it, like logically. He's like, you know, if they say no, that's totally okay. But you know, a lot of times, like, people will be generous. Like, if someone were to ask you, like, I feel like you would give it to them. And you know, he's explaining to me, like, I'm not gonna die. If they say no, we can just leave. It's not a big deal. And like, yes, everything he was saying was making sense, but it was just so, I couldn't get over like the feeling of wanting to throw up all over my dinner table, right? And it's so funny because, well, it's not funny, but I just kept looking over at the girl next to me, and I found myself like inching a little bit closer so that I could finally ask her. But the entire dinner, like, I just couldn't do it. I felt so paralyzed. And I actually at one point had to ask Brandon to stop talking because it was making me feel really sick, and I felt like I couldn't digest my food. And every time the girls were pouring shots for each other, Brandon's like, go, like, get in. You can ask for a shot. Like, they're doing shots right now. I'm like, oh. So I kept fighting him on it. And then I remember at one point he looked at me and was like, okay, I can tell by your face, and it looks like you've reached the point of no return. So I was like, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna do it. So then I was like, okay, how about if I ask them for a shot, and if they give it to me, then I want to buy them a bottle of soju. And he was like, yeah, okay, easy. So I was gearing myself up to do it, and again, I couldn't do it. And then Brandon actually sweetened the pot, and he said, if you ask them for a shot, and whether they give you a shot or not, we'll buy their dinner, you know? And at the end of the day, like, we can go home and we'll have like a cool story to talk about, and then, you know, maybe we gave them something fun to talk about for the rest of their evening, right? And what else did he say? Like, there was one thing that he said that like really pushed me over the edge, and it was, you have an opportunity right now to bless these girls. Like, we can pay for their dinner, and we can explain why we're doing this, and then we can have like a good time talking about it, and then we get to go home, and then you have blessed 2 people. Like, do you really want to miss out on an opportunity to bless people? And of course, as soon as he said that to me, I'm like, oh, you're right. Like, I can't. And I would be so mad at myself if I didn't do this. So while he was talking, I asked him to look over at their table, and I was like, how much liquor do they have left in their bottle? And he was like, very little. Like, it's probably not even a whole shot. And while he was talking, I just grabbed my shot glass from the table, and I like leaned over and I went next to the girl, and I was like, can I have some of your soju? Like, in Korean, in my broken Korean, I think I said like, can I have a taste or something? And she was just like, oh yeah. So she grabs the bottle, she pours me like the last bit that was left, and then she's like, I'm sure she heard us speaking English because we were sitting pretty close together, and you know, we were talking in English all night. So I think maybe she assumed we're foreigners or we're visiting or something. But she was like, oh, like, have you never tried soju before? And I'm like, no, I have. And I'm just like dying inside. And I told Brent, I'm like, can you please explain to her why we're doing this? You promised you'd explain right away, because, you know, his Korean's much better than mine. So as soon as I asked for the shot, he told me he would explain it to the girl so that I don't come off like a weirdo. But I look over at him, and he's sitting there just smiling at me. And for like 30 seconds, like, he's just watching me like turn red. And I'm trying to tell her what I'm doing, but I can't. And I'm like asking him for help. But he just wanted me to like soak up that moment of me conquering my fear and doing it. So finally, he tells them, you know, like, you know, we're like afraid of getting rejected, and this is like an exercise for her to get over that. And not the girl that gave me the shot, but her friend ends up talking to us in English, and she's saying that she has family in the States and I think she spent some time there. So now I'm like even more embarrassed because I'm thinking, oh my gosh, she heard our entire conversation. And so there was a point where these girls weren't talking to each other, but they were both on their phones. And then only after I got home, I was like, oh my gosh, I wonder if they were texting each other. Like, hey, you know the table next to us? The girl, she's gonna try to like ask us for a shot or something. I'm imagining this whole story in my head. But yeah, she's like talking to us in like almost perfect English and whatever. The conversation continued and then we were about done. And we timed it so that Brandon was like, if you get a no from them, that's okay. We can just leave right away because we're done with our meal. So we just finished eating. We thanked them. I like gave her like an awkward side hug, and we asked them if we could pay for a bottle of soju for them and the rest of like if we could buy their dinner. And you know, initially they fought us, but we're like, no, like you don't understand what you did for us today, so please, you know, let us thank you. And yeah, they let us. So we went up to the register, we paid for everything, and the entire walk home, guys, I was like bawling, like one of those shaking, sobbing, like I can't believe I did that, just flooded with emotions, right? Like not just because I think me feeling proud of myself came much later, but I was just so overwhelmed with like gratitude for Brandon. Like I can't believe, not I can't believe, but just so thankful that he pushed me to do that, and he was just so supportive and just being like my biggest cheerleader. And like the whole way home he just had his arm around me and he was like holding my head and like telling me like how proud he was of me. And yeah, I couldn't stop crying. You know, we got home and he was like, tell me everything you're feeling, like tell me everything that's going through your head. And I'm just like talking through tears and all of this. And yeah, anyway, so that was Friday, right? It's crazy because I did feel like, oh, like a little bit more like, oh, I can do this. Like I can do scary stuff, you know? So Saturday rolls around and we attended a wedding. And after the wedding, we went to go hang out with some of our friends from church. And so we're hanging out with them and we go out to dinner. And then Brandon just decides to tell this story of my rejection challenge and the program that I'm doing, right? So he's telling the story. He's like, oh, I have this amazing story to tell you. And there were 4 other people and 3 kids. So Brandon's telling the story about what I did yesterday, and everyone's just like, oh, okay. So Brandon and I initially thought, okay, maybe it wasn't that cool, like the story kind of fell flat. But it only turns out that the 2 guys that were with us, they just like went into their own little holes because they started thinking I could never do that. So I think they were just imagining themselves doing that and then feeling sick about it, so they were just not talking. I thought they were just like bored about the story, but that wasn't it at all. And finally, when they both climbed out, they were like, oh my gosh, like I just imagined you doing that and like I'm so uncomfortable. I'm so uncomfortable for you. So one of them jokingly said, okay, so what's your challenge today? And I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna do one today. Like I feel like bold enough from what I did yesterday. And I was like, I don't know, babe, like maybe, I don't know, should I ask the lady if our dinner could be free? And Brandon was like, yeah, you should do it. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. And I think the woman that was serving us, I believe she might have been the owner, but it was really cool because she actually lived in New Jersey for 20 years, so her English was pretty good. And she moved back to Korea 2 years ago. So we kind of got to know that about her. And when we rang the bell for her to come over, and I think someone was ordering another beer, immediately I launched in to ask her if we could get the whole meal for free. But I think Brandon had no idea that I was going to ask then and there. And while I was talking to her, he was like right here, and I caught a glimpse of his face, and he had like this face on, like, oh my gosh. And I just freaked out at the last minute. And I froze, and the lady was like, oh, well, what did you want to ask me? And I was like, oh, nothing, it's okay. And then she's like, no, please. And I was like, oh, no, it's okay. And I just totally like oh, I felt like such a coward. And then my friend Peter, who was sitting to my right, he was like, oh my gosh, Jen, I can't be here right now. Please don't do this. And you know, he was just so nervous. Like he did have to get up and like walk away for a bit. Anyway, I was so mad that I like chickened out. So I decided, okay, I'm gonna ask her for something for free off the menu. Not for the entire dinner, but I'm gonna call her over and ask her like, hey, you know, can you give us something free off the menu? Maybe like a big beer. Yeah, like a beer that would be enough for like the 3 of us to split or something. We're talking about this and you know how scary it is. And then this woman, she randomly comes by and she brings us 2 melons, like for free, just for all of us to share together. And we're like, oh my gosh, thank you. So we're receiving this free fruit. And right away, I was just like, hey, can I have a free beer? And like, I think I like was giggling as I was saying it. And she looked at me like, what are you drinking? And I was like, oh, like this brand. And I pointed to the bottle. But I think I just looked so uncomfortable that she stood there looking at me and she was like, you're not joking, right? And I'm like, no, I'm not joking. And then she looks at me and then she walks away. So I don't know if she's going to give it to me or not, but she walks away. So I'm like leaning up against the wall like this. Like my friends are like sweating. They're so uncomfortable. Brandon's like laughing and like, you know, just happy that I did it, whether we get a beer or not. But she comes back and, oh no, you know what I asked her? I said, can we have a free beer and can you cheers with us? And she was like, no, I don't want to drink, I don't want to drink. So she comes back later and she brings a big bottle of beer and, you know, Brandon hands me the bottle opener. I open and I stand up to pour some into her glass and she's like, I don't want to drink, I don't want to drink. And I'm like, please, 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 can you just please take a little sip for me? So I convinced her, she took it, we cheersed, and then we drank it and she left and I wanted to I don't know what I wanted to do. I didn't want to die, but I kind of wanted to die. It happened. And then, you know, Brandon was like, I'm so proud of you, I'm so proud of you. And my friends were so uncomfortable. It was great. But it was cool because it just launched this whole conversation, right? Where these 2 guys, I don't know one of them very well, but Peter we know well. And he just seems like the most like in charge, like a leader. He seems like just like a natural born leader. But he was telling us how just talking about this exercise that I'm doing is really making him reevaluate like everything he knows about himself, because he was like, I could never do that. I would never do that. And he just realized how fearful he was. And then for the rest of like at dinner and then on our way back, leaving the restaurant, we were just talking about this, right? The whole fear and rejection thing. And it was really cool. It just launched a really cool conversation. I think I just said that 3 times, but oh man, that was Saturday. And then I came home and after completing the task, we're supposed to journal about it. Like what is the process, what's going through my mind, like what are the thoughts that I'm having, what are the scary feelings following it, and how can we change our thoughts so that our feelings are, you know, not ones of fear. So I was sitting and just doing my homework. So that was Saturday, and then on Sunday we went to church, and then Brandon, he was presiding again, so he was up in front of the whole congregation, and it was a pretty big crowd because we had a guest speaker and a lot of people came to listen to him preach. So Brandon was presiding and kind of sharing about this weekend and, you know, sharing the church announcements and stuff. So he goes up there and he tells this story about, you know, what I did. And then he challenged everyone to like do something today that scares you. And so after church, I was just thinking, I don't know what I'm gonna do today. We didn't have any plans to like go out and eat, so I don't know in what context I would have to do something to get rejected. But at the last minute, we decided to go out and just walk around one part of our neighborhood that we'd never been to. And it was really cool. We found this little neighborhood that looked like old school Korea. There were all these like little mom and pop little marts and fruit stands, and it was just so crazy for us to be like, wow, this is in our neighborhood. We would have never ever known if we didn't just venture out like this. So we just walked around for a good amount of time, and then I ended up picking a restaurant that we were gonna have dinner. And I chose this one because there were a lot of people and the food just like looked good. So we went to go eat, and there were 2 workers and 1 person in the kitchen. And the girl that was serving us, I really liked her personality, because it was so easy, like from me as a customer, when I was looking at like everyone calling for her, I felt like it's an easy environment to feel overwhelmed. Like clearly they were understaffed. But anytime somebody was like calling for her, and some not in very nice ways, she was just really cheerful. So when she came over to our table, like I looked at her and I was like, hey, I really like your personality. Like you seem, what is it? I said 성격이 너무 좋아요, which means like, you know, you have a great personality, it seems. And then she was just like, I know. And I thought it was so cute, because as for someone who has a hard time taking compliments, like I couldn't imagine myself responding that way. And that made her only cuter to me, right? So after that, like whenever she'd come by to like, you know, grill our food and, you know, teach us how to eat what we were eating yesterday, because it's not a dish that we normally eat. So yeah, we saw her once in a while. And then towards the end of dinner, I told Brandon, I was like, okay, I want to do something here that might be embarrassing, and it was for me to ask this girl if I could help her with something, whether that's you know, going into the kitchen, like, can I wash some dishes for you, or can I help you clear some tables, or can I go around collecting beer bottles from all the trash cans, because each table had a little recycling bin with empty beer bottles. So I was like, I'm gonna ask her to do something. And I already had a feeling she was gonna say no, because I can't imagine anyone that's working at a restaurant to be like, yeah, sure, go ahead. So I was like, okay, even if she says no, like I'm going to try to keep convincing her, and I might sound like a creep or a weirdo. So we finished eating our food, and actually after we had the meaty dishes, she came over and we ordered fried rice. So it's like fried rice and like seaweed and like vegetables, and then it's like cooked in this cast iron thing. So we finished eating that, and then I went up to her while she was cleaning up, and I was like, hey, can I help you with something? And she was like, oh no, like I think she really thought that was so strange that I asked her. And I was like, no, I know you're understaffed. I really appreciate the service that you gave us. And oh, we also had a brief conversation with her, because we were asking her if the restaurant's normally this busy, or you know, if today is just, you know, an oddball day. And she was saying, no, like Sundays are never this busy, and it's just me and this one other guy, and it's pretty crazy right now. And I was asking her like if she works here every day, or like how many hours she works, and sometimes she works till like 3 in the morning or something. So anyway, she's telling us all these little facts with like a smile on her face. And so when I went over to ask her, I'm trying to convince her. I'm like, I know you're understaffed, like I know you're gonna be here till 3 in the morning, like my husband and I, we're gonna go home after this, so like can we please, like, just can you let me bless you right now? And she fought me, but someone called for her. So she left to go serve them, and like I kind of snuck where, not like into the kitchen, but nearby, and I got myself a tray. And then Brandon and I said, we're gonna bus our own table. So we went back to our table, and then we started putting all our used dishes and like collecting like food scraps into one, and just making it easier for her so she could just take it back, you know, in one go. And I think she saw what she was doing, and she was like telling on us. She was like telling the person in the kitchen, like, hey, can you help me out here? Like, you know, these people are like trying to, you know, like do my job sort of thing. So Brandon like hurrying up, trying to bus her table, and then I saw him going over to another table and like just picking up garbage. And she comes over and she's like, oh my gosh, like really awkwardly like saying thank you. And then I go over to her and I was like, can I give you a hug? I'm just really putting myself out there now, right? And then she's like, you know, she's been cooking food for everyone, like grilling at everyone's station. So she's like, oh, but I'm like, you know, I'm covered in grease. And I'm like, it's okay. Like I ate this food. Like I'm sure I'm covered in grease too. Like give me a hug. So I hug her, and it's just like this really awkward, like butt out, like, you know, hug. So I'm trying to like get in there, and like she's clearly like really uncomfortable. But anyway, we go over to pay, and she's like, you know, thank you so much. Like no one's ever done this, and you know, please come back. Like we exchanged names and everything. And she was like, I don't want to charge you for that last fried rice you ordered, so like please let me take that off your bill. And we're like, no, like we didn't offer to help you so you can, like, you know, cut the cost of our bill. And she's like, no, that's for free, that's for you guys. And so, oh my gosh, you guys, like, I just can't believe in every single circumstance, like, I was able to experience the generosity of these people that don't know me just by doing something a little bit scary and not life-threatening, right? She could have easily, I mean, this girl clearly said no, but the lady at the restaurant on Saturday could have been like, no, sorry, I can't give you free beer. And I would have probably been mortified for, you know, feeling like a cheapskate in that moment, but I would have learned how to process that negative emotion, you know, instead of just like stifling it, but really being like, okay, well, she said no. It made me feel gross, but it's okay because I still did something scary, right? I think either way, it would have been great. But the fact that I got a yes in each of those circumstances, like I do feel way more capable than I think I give myself credit for. And I know this was an extremely long story. I actually forgot what I'm supposed to be doing on my face, but regardless, I'm clearly very excited right now. But yeah, like, it's been 3 days and I already feel like my commitment to signing up for this program is just going to just reward me, like my relationships with the people that I love, you guys, like tenfold. And oh man, I was telling Brandon, like, you know, if and when we're lucky enough to have our own children, like, I want to be the kind of woman that can teach my kids how to be bold and how to be courageous and how to add value and make an impact, you know, even in little ways. Like, I'm hoping that after Brandon and I left the restaurant yesterday, that this girl is like thinking that we were pretty cool weirdos, or like it just made her day just like a little bit better, you know? That's pretty much what I want to share with you guys. So I want to challenge you, maybe after you listen to some of Brooke Castillo's podcasts for some, like, you know, audio courage, maybe. Can you do one thing that just seems so outrageous and so cringy? And if you do decide to, like, I would love to hear how it turns out for you. Like, whether you get a yes or a no, that's not the point. In fact, I need to get a no one of these days, because I'm not going to go into the world expecting that people are always going to say yes to my request. So it doesn't matter if you get rejected, or, you know, if the other person ends up blessing you in ways that you could have never expected. I would love for you to kind of experience what I'm going through right now, and you know, for us to like grow together. Like, I don't know, it sounds so cheesy, I know, I keep talking about growing and the journey and all of this, but really let me know if this is something you'd be interested in doing. And I hope that, you know, every week I have something to share with you. And yes, I actually like totally blacked out on what I did to my face, but I think I did put on some blush. I put on some blush and I think I concealed. Yes, I did. So I think I'm gonna call it finished with my face. But okay, what else did I want to share with you? This Thursday's video, I think I'm going to do a get ready with me, because I have a few more empty products. I think like 3 or 4. It's not a lot, but I don't want to have to like collect a huge bag before I go through them with you. In fact, I don't want to keep holding on to garbage. So I think I want to share some of the products that I finished up with you. And Riddle Oil, well, Chelsea from Riddle Oil, one of my favorite brands, she unexpectedly sent me some products, and she totally like left it up to me whether, she's like, if you like the product, share. If you don't, like, it's my gift to you, sort of thing. And there are 3 products in there that I absolutely love, and I have to share it with you guys. So I think I will be talking about them in today's video along with my empty products. Next week, I will not be here all of next week, because I will be in Shanghai and then Osaka and Kyoto, Japan, with Brandon and my sister. Probably will not see you guys for the next 2 weeks. So yeah, even though I won't be here on YouTube, I hope that you guys just like dive deeply into the Life Coach School podcast series. If you listen to anything and any of the episodes and they resonate with you, please share with me. And I will probably be updating in bits over on Instagram. So I won't be here, but if you guys are interested, I will leave my Instagram handle somewhere on the screen, as well as in the description box if you wanted to, yeah, just see what I'm up to, I guess, or if you had any questions. So thank you for watching. And I hope you guys enjoyed this really long story time, and I will see you guys soon. Bye!